Hi, I'm Dr. Alexandra Filingeri, registered dietitian, doctor of clinical nutrition, and I'm sitting here with world-renowned plastic surgeon,
Dr. Thomas Romo, a plastic surgeon in New York City. I'm here to introduce you to our new podcast, We Got Your Number.
We are here to break down evidence-based information and real-world experience, and we're going to bring in some of the top experts in the world because
We got your number. How can we improve diabetes treatment in this country?
let's bring in experts and really talk about what supplements actually
Can
help.
we improve our sleep health by using these medications?
How much protein do people really need to
Can
eat?
nutrition solve all of our problems?
What happens if someone comes off their weight loss medications?
Welcome back to We Have Your Number. And Ali, what I wanted to kind of talk to you about is people talk about taking supplements and talking about antioxidants. And they use that word antioxidant. And what does it really mean? And I'm going to kind of just quickly explain the process of what big words. Inside of a cell, there are multiple structures, and one of those structures, which is real hot that everyone's talking about right now, is mitochondria. And inside the mitochondria, there is a process that makes our energy source, which is called ADP and ATP. And what we burn and our gas in our body is ATP. ATP is made inside the mitochondria. And it's done through a process where in the mitochondria, big word, oxidative phosphorylation, where at the end of that process, bouncing that electron is bouncing down that pole. At the end of that, you end up with from ADP to ATP, and then you end up inside that mitochondria with a free electron inside that cell bouncing around, and that charged particle can destabilize structures inside of a cell. So that's what antioxidants do. They resorb that electron and stabilize it. The problem is, how much supplement do you need? And particularly, is less is more, because you got people that are holding bags of supplements and you're going, how do you determine how much supplement you need to prevent that uncontrolled electron in that process?
Yeah.
So how do you do that?
That is a actually wonderful question. So I think the first thing that we do have control over is decreasing as much oxidative damage that we are causing to ourselves, right? So what are things that cause oxidative stress and damage, right? Like things that contribute to more free radicals in the body: obesity, smoking, drinking, not sleeping, and then chemicals and, diet, like exposures, right? So like environmental exposures. So the first thing that we do is we want to try and limit those exposures, right? If, we have a very pro-inflammatory, obese, excess body fat mass state, we want to work on reducing that state. If we're drinking too much alcohol, we know alcohol alone is a toxin in itself. We want to, decrease the amount of alcohol that we're taking in. We know that alcohol, when it's metabolized in the liver, we're making toxic byproducts, right? Just in alcohol metabolism alone. If it's environmental, to the best of our ability, we're going to try and limit exposure. So step number one is doing the things that we can to eliminate exposures. Secondarily is before we look into supplementation, which we'll talk about supplementation, is looking into what can we do from a dietary standpoint to decrease inflammation and oxidation inside of the body.
Well, inflammation is a hot topic, as is oxidation right now. So
it starts so simple, right? Eat whole foods, eat fruits, eat vegetables, eat foods that come from the surrounding parts of the supermarket, right? So fresh produce, lean proteins, whole fat dairy, and whole grains, right? So that's step number one. The second step, or the layer that we can look a little deeper, is what are the anti-inflammatory, antioxidant molecules that work in our body? I'm going to talk about one relationship, and it's the relationship between vitamin C and vitamin E. So, vitamin C has the ability to donate an electron, right? So what you were talking about is oxidative stress that's happening inside of the cell at the level of the mitochondria, which, to break down into, let's say, simplistic terms is we need to produce ATP for energy, right? And in doing so, electrons kind of bounce along, right, the membrane until we reach the point where we create ATP. What vitamin C can do is it can donate a free electron, right? How does that help? It helps quench or terminate that inflammatory molecule in the body. So before we take 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, which is osmotic, can pull water into the gastrointestinal tract, why not choose food-based sources of vitamin C, right? We know whole foods, we know oranges, kiwis, green leafy veggies. Those contain good amounts of vitamin C to start,
Cool.
right?
Yeah.
Now, vitamin E. Vitamin E is a fat-soluble antioxidant working on the layer of the lipid part of the cell, able to once again donate an electron to terminate the free radical. You asked an important question. You said, how much? I mean, listen, at what point do we start causing damage?
Exactly. Exactly. Because there's, I can take more. I can take more. And what the current culture and media would have you believe is you can't take too much supplement. And the kinds of supplement are things that are resurrecting right now, like creatine or one we're going to talk about. I told you methylene blue is popping up. It was a fabric dye. So there's things that are, what do people are supposed to take? What are they not supposed to take?
Yeah. And sometimes I think because you don't need a physician to write a prescription for a supplement, we assume they're safe, right? Because you can buy them over the counter, but you can have toxicity.
Of course.
It's important to understand that most supplements that we ingest orally are metabolized and they have to go through first pass metabolism in the liver. And we can cause damage if we take too much of them.
And they're not FDA controlled either. So,
Right.
you can put whatever you want to in it. So
Right.
the level, the quality, where you buy them, what you're buying, actually, there's been studies that people know now where they've looked at supplements bought from that you buy, that go into a store and buy a huge container and it's mostly sawdust or something.
Right. Especially, on Amazon, we're seeing, and you see it a lot in like testosterone boosters and hormone support. We're seeing medications in the supplements where they're not supposed to be in it. It's putting people at a lot of risk. So when you're choosing a supplement, you want to understand what the DRI is, dietary recommended intake. Why is that? Because if you're taking a supplement at 100% of the DRI, that's generally recognized as safe. When you start seeing something 300, 400, 500, 600% of the DRI, that's where you get into a level where it may have the potential to cause a toxicity. So, for example, a fat soluble vitamin, vitamin D, E, A, K, these are vitamins that we can store inside of our fat tissue.
Correct.
And it is possible to develop a toxicity.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to know the quantity. That's why I asked you, how much do you take? Because the media gives you can't take enough, and people really need to be aware of what they're doing. And we're going to address those issues here on the podcast. We got your number.